Programs, programs, get your programs. You can't watch a revolution without a program. Hi, everybody. I'm Bill Whittle. This is your Nexus Report for Friday, the 3rd of November, 2017. And tomorrow, the 4th of November, Antifa and the rest of this crowd is taking to the streets to launch the revolution. And I thought we'd just do a little kind of a heads up on what to look forward to, because on Monday we're going to do a firewall on what actually happened and some of the consequences of it. But here's what's coming from their site. Their website's called refusefascism.org. You'll never guess. You know what? I'll save this for later. Keep it a mystery. Here's just a couple of some of their rhetoric. The millions start with us. In less than a week, it begins. In 19 cities across the country, we will unite with courage and conviction, masking our faces, smashing windows, beating up people with bicycle locks, whatever it takes. Oh, I'm sorry. That's actually not written here. Overcoming fear and uncertainty, to put a stop to the grave danger that the Trump-Pence regime poses to the world. Only the people acting together in nonviolent mass protests, raising the demand that this regime must step down from power, can end this nightmare. First of all, children, it's not a regime, it's an administration. And the difference is it came to power lawfully. Somewhere on their webpage, they say that one of the many crimes of Donald Trump is that he won the presidency with the Electoral College. In other words, he won the presidency according to the rules of winning the presidency. And as some coach once said, I think it was challenged Bear Bryant, and said, "Whoa, Bear Bryant's team, Alabama, just clean him out." I think it's Bear Bryant. And the other coach, well, we had more first downs than you did. And Bear Bryant said, "Okay, next time we'll play for first downs." So here's what's dangerous about, well, needless to say, dangerous. The rhetoric. Here's also from their website. We will gather in the streets and public squares of cities and towns across the country. You're not going to be doing it in towns. You're not going to be gathering in the public squares of small towns. I can assure you that's not going to happen. At first, many thousands declaring that this whole regime is illegitimate and that we will not stop until our single demand is met. You're going to get thousands of people, no question about that. There's no question about that. There's at least that many lunatics, crackpots, communists, fascists, murderers, and serial lunatics in this country, at least that many. But here's their single demand. It's not a request. It's a demand. And here's what they're demanding. This nightmare must end. The Trump-Pence regime must go. So needless to say, those of us who voted Republican and voted for Donald Trump should be just preparing ourselves for the final days of the administration, because when Donald Trump and Mike Pence see the power of this demand, well, obviously they're just going to resign immediately. And at that point, who knows? It's probably safest to go back to Hillary Clinton until we can get Bernie in there. That's what's going to happen for sure on Saturday. It sounds like it's funny, and it is funny, but it's not funny. And here's a couple reasons why it's not funny. Here's some rhetoric from the refusefascism.org website. Just a little bit of rhetoric. But it's the kind of thing that my ear is attuned to, because I've studied the gulags, I've studied the Nazis, I've studied the communists, I've studied them very well. And this is why. So I can listen to things like this. One of the quotes is, when your house is on fire, you have to do things you would not normally do, like beat up people and try to kill them, or smash windows, or set things on fire, You wouldn't normally douse it with water, but that's what is necessary if you want to put out the fire. So they've set the moral stage for actually not putting out the fire, for starting fires. In other words, sometimes we have to do things that we wouldn't normally do. Normally, we're law-abiding citizens, but we may have to get out there and do things that we wouldn't normally do because our house is on fire. And our house is on fire because these whiny children lost an election, and they will never, ever, ever accept it. Democracy is not for them. The left can't handle democracy. They cannot handle it. I didn't like the Obama administration one bit, not one bit, but every single day of those 8 years, I had to say to myself, well, the guy was elected. He was elected. When it comes down to it, he was elected. What can you say? We have to get a better message out there. So this whole thing is just amazing. But here's where it gets really interesting. One of the entries on their website basically says, this whole regime must go. In the name of humanity, we refuse to accept a fascist America. A better world is possible. And this is a film of a new talk by Bob Avakian. Now, this was a surprise to me, pleasant surprise, I must say. Bob Avakian, for those of you who don't know, is the founder of the Revolutionary Communist Party of the USA. And to my utter shock and surprise, I mean, seriously, I'll never forget where I was when I heard the news that Bob Avakian is, in fact, the person who started RefuseFascism.org. And now I hope you're sitting down, because I know I've shocked you to your core. And I don't want any, if you have a weak heart, let's just say perhaps you should be sitting down for this, or maybe you want to turn the volume down. Because not only did the chairman of the Revolutionary Communist Party start this Refuse Fascism website and is behind this entire protest, but George Soros gave him a lot of money to do it. I'll just have a quick sip of water while you regain your senses at the stunning news. On Monday, we will release a firewall, new style firewall, and what actually happened on Saturday. And in that firewall, I'll put the pieces together in the way I normally do in a firewall. So consider this a teaser trailer for the work that's coming out on Monday. But whatever happens tomorrow on Saturday, remember two things. Whatever they say and whatever they do, they are founded by the chairman of the Revolutionary Communist Party of the United States of America. So when we say they're a bunch of commies, they advertise it. They're not going to argue with you. They're not going to argue with you, and they're not going to talk about the gulags. They're going to talk about the 96 million people or whatever it was who were killed by communism 100 years ago. Was it today, yesterday, tomorrow, something like that? So that's number one. And secondly, when you see these protests and you see these people in the streets and you see all these buildings being smashed and you see these people fighting and you see all these things burning, I am begging you to remember one thing. George Soros has put $12 billion into these things, and a month ago, not even 2 weeks ago, he transferred $18 billion to the Open Society Foundation, which is tax-free, of course, and this money is going to be used to cause these kind of actions in the streets of America until they get their revolution. So I'm going to say this once again. I don't have $18 billion. If I did, I'd just write myself the check, but I don't have $18 billion to fight these people. And I don't have George Soros either. I have you. And if you're one of those people that have been watching this commentary over the years and thinking, well, that's really good, that really helped me a lot, it's time to put up or shut up here. I don't mean to be so brutal about it, but that's the fact. They're putting $18 billion, and on Saturday, we're going to see where the first of that money goes. And if you want to see revolution in the streets of America, what it starts looking like this, because the children, the kids, are 100% on board all of this. The one thing I've always been most amazed of is it can flip these people in 7 minutes. You can flip them, but you got to get the message to them. So starting Monday, we're going to do a firewall on this subject, and we're going to just keep doing it until we either beat them or don't. But that's the plan. That'll do it for your Nexus Report for today, Friday, the 3rd of November, made possible by the paying members of BillWhittle.com, the citizen producers that make everything here happen. And we would like very much for you to be one of them. You can go to BillWhittle.com and become a member right there, because it's not a joke anymore. Just watch what happens tomorrow and tell me if you think that the country's in enough trouble yet. Other than that, I say, let's go get them. I'm not afraid of these cowards, these children with their masks and their black outfits beating the daylights out of people. I'm not afraid of them at all. We're going to kick their asses. All right, that'll do it. We'll see you Monday.